Hi, I'm Jim Shaw from LexMedia and the Colonial Times here in Lexington. Today is Monday, May 11th, and I'm here with our town manager, Jim Malloy, for our Monday update with the town manager. Jim, welcome, and I hope you're doing well. Hope you had a nice weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
We have, as we usually do, we start off with sort of the COVID number of the day, which I believe is 288, and I guess it just seems to be sort of inching up instead of jumping up the way it was before.
Yeah, and so it was at 280 last Friday, so by 8 people over the weekend. And the thing to remember is that that is the total number of people who have tested positive. A lot of people have cleared. In fact, of that 280 last Friday, 90 were active cases, 149 had cleared, and there had been 41 fatalities.
How many? 41?
41, all of them at long-term care facilities.
Long-term care. What a shame. That is sad. Well, you know, it looks like it's starting to flatten a little bit in the state. Hopefully, you know, we'll begin to see the residual effect of that sooner than later. I know of a couple of folks who have passed, but one or two here in Lexington, but mostly like in some of the towns like in Bedford and others. But it's really a sad thing, and I really hope that we start to see some light at the end of the tunnel soon. So let's talk about some of the things we're doing to try to keep that number down. And, you know, I know that the governor's mandatory mask order went into effect, and people they seem to be complying. More and more people are using them, some aren't. But there are, you know, people should understand that there are, you know, even though the governor says wear the mask out there, you know, if you're alone and you're walking on the street and you're not coming into contact, there's no requirement for that, as far as I understand. Can you clarify anything on that?
Yes, so our interpretation of the governor's order is that when you cannot maintain 6 feet of safe social distancing when you're outside, that a mask is optional. But when you cannot maintain that distance, you need to be wearing a mask outside, and you need to wear a mask inside whenever you enter into a grocery store, a pharmacy, or any other retail business. So within doors, it's required to wear a mask, but outside it's optional unless you cannot maintain that safe social distance, then you do have to wear a mask. So if you're like, I live in a pretty rural area, and I went out running this morning, and when I went out running, I didn't wear a mask. But if I was running on the Minuteman bikeway or riding my bike there, I would probably wear a mask. It would be impossible to maintain a 6-foot distance from people as you pass them, unless you know, go really wide every time you see somebody. But sometimes that's not possible.
Right. Well, you know, and I always say the safe rule of thumb is wear the mask. That way there's never any question and everyone's safer. But if you're going to go for a walk, at least bring one with you. So in case you do end up encountering people, because people do share the sidewalk. So.
Yeah, and the thing to remember about masks is that it's not all about protecting yourself. It's about protecting other people. There are a lot of people out there that are very vulnerable. They may have some sort of a pre-existing condition that makes them more susceptible to infection. And so it's really about protecting other people, especially those people who are more vulnerable. Right.
No, and and you don't know if you're carrying it. I may have told you I had a friend who passed away, who did not have symptoms, did not know she was infected with the virus, and on a Saturday morning went for a walk with her daughter, and she reacted. She thought she was having an asthma attack, but it went on to get much worse and was gone. She was gone by the end of the day. So it came on, for her, it came on fast. But it was, it's a very, very sad thing. So you just never know. So like you say, you're protecting other people from you as well. And I think that's the most important thing to understand. It's more about, if we all worry about the other people and protecting other people, and they're worrying about protecting me, it should work. So
should.
Yeah. All right. But we did have, I wanted to mention a couple of things I saw on the website. One is the waste collection, a hazardous waste collection for May. I know that these are regional events, so talk a little bit about that. The collection apparently has been canceled for May, but there's one in June. So tell us about that.
Yes, so the May event was canceled, but as you said, the one in June is on. It's a regional event, and not knowing exactly what the conditions were going to be, the Public Works Department felt that with all the logistics involved with getting all of the other communities either on board or not on board, that it was better to cancel the May event until we knew what was going on. But as of right now, as you said, the June event is still planned to go forward.
Mm-hmm. Great. And for information relative to that, they can just go on the town website, lexingtonma.gov.
That's correct.
And you can get all the information there. And I encourage people to do that anyway. I don't know if we've encouraged people to do it lately, but you can go on, just take a couple of minutes if you're home surfing the net. Just as a course, go on lexingtonma.gov, and you can get updates as to, what's going on with COVID and all of the other events that are taking place. And I think, you folks in the town, and I know you've got a team that work with you, you've made it, it's a pretty far-reaching list of information, and it's pretty vital stuff. So I really do encourage people. I mean, you guys have done a great job in terms of keeping the town informed, and people should take advantage of it. They can also sign up for updates via email. You can register your cell number for the 911 or for the code red, in case some people don't have phones at home anymore, hardwired phones. So you can get your cell phone registered. Am I correct? So that you can get
correct,
the code
yes.
red? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to let people know that they can do that. We did have a little bit of good news Friday. I understand Friday, and for folks who are golfers, Pine Meadows was reopened with restrictions, and I understand it was pretty busy. So
that's correct. I talked to Melissa Petit, our Recreation and Community Services Director, this morning, and she informed me that Saturday and Sunday they were booked solid all day long, and so there was a lot of pent-up golf anxiety there, and so a lot of people got out and did get to play golf over the weekend. A lot of requirements about doing everything electronically, as far as signing up to play and paying to play, and then things like ball washers are bagged, and flags are set up so you don't have to take them out and your ball won't actually go in the hole. There's a little cup there, and you just that, and then you pick up your own ball. There's no rental clubs or sharing of clubs, things like that.
No carts.
No carts. You have to walk. The governor did issue a amendment to the order from last Thursday that allows anybody who, because of a disability, would need to use a cart is allowed to use a cart, but it has to plan on walking.
What if you had a really, really bad handicap? You know what I'm talking about, a golfer's handicap? That would be me. My people say, what's your handicap? My handicap is I can't hit the ball straight. Which again is a golfer's term. Yeah. So, but I think it's nice. It's nice that people are out, and I know that there's a requirement to call ahead. I mean, I know I think you have to reserve more than a couple of days ahead. Is it? I think so.
And when you show up to play, you have to wait in your car until 15 minutes before your tee time, and then as soon as you're done playing, you have to leave the course. You can't hang around.
Right. There's no hanging around or what have you. So.
And if they're in larger clubs where they have restaurants and bars and stuff like that, those are all closed. So
right.
There's none of that.
Right. And there are, I don't know, restrooms were an issue. I heard that being discussed with regard to, so you're on your own as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
So just, plan accordingly, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad people were out and about, and I hope the guys out there that were golfing on Sunday were smart enough to bring their wives along to celebrate Mother's Day. But I know a lot of women. I do know a lot of moms who are avid golfers. So I hope they get a chance to get out there on their own and maybe drag their husbands along with them. So,
my wife is a golfer, but we didn't get out yesterday. We had one of our kids came over during the course of the day, and so we. It's interesting because they were very cautious about wearing a mask the entire time they were here. And they got the Mother's Day gift, and
that's nice. Yeah, we were debating. It's a funny thing. We debated back and forth. Got through the guilt of my son not coming by. He lives in Somerville. He's in mostly, but he does get out a little bit, and he's got 3 roommates who, so we thought, what do they say? Caution was the better part of valor here. So we decided to sort of do a virtual Mother's Day visit. So, and it was nice. We were able to spend a little time together. So,
nice.
When we talk about opening golf courses, we sort of begin to touch on the issue of return to work. And I know that you guys there, you have been, as the town manager, have been sort of you put together what would you, I don't know, you call it a committee or what have you?
It's a return to work task force.
Task force, and that's more so to talk about how to reopen town government. But there's also going to be a little focus on reopening because the governor is talking about May 18th opening businesses and such. His committee is not reporting until his task force is not reporting until the 18th. So I think it's a far reach to think that we're going to actually open businesses on the 18th, but I know that doesn't fall within your purview. That's up to the governor to explain that away. But tell us a little bit about your task force and what you guys are planning to do to begin to bring a little normalcy back to town government.
Yeah, so what we want to do is make sure that we're planning ahead for both the safety of our employees and the safety of the public that comes in to see us. And so we do need to make some minor modifications to the town offices. Specifically, you've seen them in grocery stores or other retail stores where they put a piece of plexiglass up between the employees and the public. So we'll really start off with just having the employees coming back into the office on a regular basis, but not being open to the public for a week or so, just so that they can get caught up on paperwork and get things organized. And then we'll the public on a mostly, I would like to say, a limited basis. We would still encourage the public to continue doing business online with the town or using the drop box out in front of the town office building. There's a lot of things that people will need to come in and deal with the town. And so we want to make sure that we're planning and thinking about all the different aspects. We also have talked to a lot of our employees about what types of things are working for them right now, working remotely, and using this as an opportunity to review how we do our operations and whether or not some of our employees can continue perhaps working partially remotely and partially in the office, which would be a way in the future for us to limit or work on the problem that we have of overcrowding in our town office building, perhaps by having shared workspace and stuff. So we don't want to just simply go back to the old normal. We want to create a new normal that works better for the town employees and is better for the public as well.
If there is such a thing as a silver lining, maybe it is that we found that we can do these kinds of things and reduce the traffic, reduce the like you say, the the number of folks working, overcrowding in the offices and such. And then also to some degree deal with the issue of childcare and all of that, because I know that's something that you're taking into consideration in terms of the task force, because, kids, if parents are slowly going back to work, yet childcare facilities are closed, that just creates additional problems and stress.
Yeah.
So,
and we've been able to sort of hobble by doing work remotely, and we certainly don't want to lose any of our talented staff because they find themselves in a squeeze between needing to go back or being required to go back to work, but yet not having daycare open yet or summer camps open yet. Right. And so we'll certainly be very sensitive towards trying to address all of those issues and working with our staff to make sure that, they've got what they need to be back at work.
Good. Is there a particular timeline on all of this?
No, we will be giving the select board a status update on May 18th, the day that the governor releases their report. We'll give them an update on what we're also working on. And I agree that when that task force, the governor's task force, is releasing their report on May 18th, it'll probably have some recommendations on how to slowly open the economy back up. And I have no insight as to what the timeline is or what they're looking at, but I don't think it'll be in May. I think it'll be June or July at this point.
Right. Well, it makes sense. I think people are beginning to get the hopes up because the governor said May 18th, but when he announced that the report wasn't coming from the task force until the 18th, it just occurred to me that how can you have a report come in and then have time to digest it on the same day that you're talking about opening things up? And I think it's all, with the idea that we just want to make the right choices. I know people are getting very anxious out there, and, we've seen rallies at the State House and other state houses. People are at the end of their wits, but this is really, it's so much bigger than any one of us and the inconvenience that we all face. It's hard. I'm a small business person. I deal with small business people. There's a lot of frustration out there, but I also believe, and I've talked to a lot of these folks, that they also understand that we're better off waiting rather than rushing back in and ending up back at square one. So
I agree.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about town meeting, and then we can finish because we'll keep this as a sort of a brief update today. Okay. I know that we've talked a little bit about town meeting in the past, and I did talk about it with Joe Pato the other day, not to any great degree, but we're getting closer to the date. I know that the moderator has set a date, and I know that there'll be another postponement because she's required. She can only postpone or change the date so many days. She can't just say, okay, 3 months down the road we'll have a town meeting. So give us let's just touch base a little bit on the on what the plans are for town meeting.
Yep. So we are last Thursday evening we did a training session. Joe Pato and the town moderator, myself, the deputy town manager, and Doug Vicente, the chair of the select board, with the appropriations committee, just to sort of get them used to how it's going to work and get some questions out from them, which was very helpful. Mm-hmm. And starting tomorrow night and on Wednesday and Thursday night, there will be training sessions with different precincts of town meeting members, starting to get them accustomed to it, and that will continue into next week. We have about 8 town staff members who will be assisting in the production of town meeting, which is a lot different than what we've done before, where we need people to be handling the Zoom part of the meeting. We've got people who need presentations that'll be made. We've got people who will be handling voting, and then also someone who will be reading comments, and we have backups for everybody. And so we've got a training later this week for some of those employees to really get used to the both the online town meeting portal that Joe Pato has set up and the Zoom controls and what the expectations are at town meeting. And then, like I said, that'll continue next week. And then on May 27th, we're planning on having a mock town meeting with all of the town meeting members to make sure that everybody's comfortable, that things work smoothly. And then the intent is on June 1st to start an actual remote town meeting. And I believe we'll be the first community to be doing that.
Wow. Well, that's great. I'm assuming, by the way, that LexMedia will be running this live. I should know. You'd think I'd know as chairman of LexMedia, but I know we have a great executive director, and I know that she's been communicating with folks here. But the idea is to run this live, not taped, right?
Yes, it is. And we have been coordinating with LexMedia.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's great. It sounds like a lot of people are doing a lot of work in order to do this. I think the people of Lexington are, they're very fortunate to have folks who are who have a lot of ingenuity and a lot of sort of innovative way of looking at things, and we're going to be able to get through this. And I know that there'll be sort of a truncated warrant, and I know that you'll be dealing with the warrant in certain ways in order to sort of make this go a little bit more quickly, a little bit more smoothly. So, and there'll be plenty of time to talk about that in the future, so that people can get their heads around what actually will be discussed at town meetings. So that they can prepare to participate and think about their comments ahead of time. So, great. Well, it sounds like everything's going as well as it possibly can. Obviously, we would like things to go back to the way they used to be, but I can. I say this a lot, and I mean it. I think the people in Lexington are in very good hands, and because of you and the Board of Selectmen that we have, your staff, not just your senior staff. You've got obviously an excellent senior staff, but all the way down. I mean, everybody who's out there working every day, because there are things that have to be done. DPW is out there on the front line, as well as the emergency personnel like police and fire. So Lexington is really very well served. So through you, I want to thank all of them as well. Thanks for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you again next Monday. And in the interim, we'll be talking, I believe, on Wednesday with Susie Barry from the Board of Selectmen. I'm sorry, from the Lexington Select Board.
Yes,
of course. And
it takes a while to get used to that.
It does. I mean, I'm getting better at it, but I have to just, and bang my head a little bit, and just remind myself. So at any rate, thanks again, Jim.
All right. Thank you.
All the best to you and your family. Thank you.
You too.